Hey, everybody, we're working through a couple of technical issues as we move forward, and Tone is checking all the stuff on his end. How's the volume there, sir?
It's pretty low on my end, but
Can you turn
can
that
hear
up?
you.
You can adjust your volume, your speaker volume.
I guess so.
Yeah,
Let me
try
try.
that. Just turn it
Ah,
up a little, not too much so we have feedback.
harder. Yeah, there she is.
I think
Harder.
this.
La
Yeah.
la la la
La
la.
la 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 la.
La 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 la. That's
Oké, ja,
right.
lekker.
Beter?
Live in my house. Eet smakelijk.
Ja, taartje.
I'll be
Ik
your
zie het
shelter. Oh,
purple.
lekker.
Oh.
Oh.
Ja, ik wilde het
All right, so
No,
this episode is going to be about food.
it's about eating cake.
Ik wilde jou opgeschreven.
Oh, that's great.
Really?
Yeah, that's right. Sigrid's birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. Not for me, but I get the cake. That's
Happy birthday.
so I guess you have to do the talking for the next 10
I'm
minutes. Yes.
happy to do the talking because we
What I
have
want to talk
been
about.
we have been talking about knowing when to say when, knowing when to say no, knowing how to diplomatically say no, knowing why it's important mentally, physically, spiritually, psychologically, socially. Sometimes you have to say no, and it's okay.
Mhm.
Sometimes you've got to call people on their BS. If someone says something, does something that doesn't ring true with you, you have to speak up. You can't sit back and say, well, that's just who they are. It's the same example I give people all the time when they go to a restaurant or somewhere else and they have a bad experience, terrible service, the food was awful, something happened that just made them go, I don't think I'm coming back. And
Right.
I've spoken to more people than I can count to have said, well, I just decided not to go back. And, I was like, you know what? Did you talk to a manager or a leader? No, I didn't. So, okay, so not only did you give them a chance to make you whole, you didn't alert them to what was going on. They may not even know, and anyone else who comes after you is going to have the same experience. You're not speaking up just for yourself, you're speaking up for everyone who comes after you. And I think the same thing applies when you're in a situation. Another really good example. Oh, the puppy wants food. Another great example is, and we both can relate to this early in our entertainment careers, people want you to give a lot for a little. I don't know how many projects when I first started out in film and TV where they wanted you to sign away your rights. They wanted you to give and give and give, and it was not reciprocated. It was very, very one-sided. And
Yeah.
I I'm proud of the fact that most of the projects I worked on early in my career when I was an extra or a background extra, normally whenever I could, I made sure you couldn't see my face. In fact, I worked on a series of commercials for the Disney water parks, and all you saw was my back. And it was interesting because one of the people there said, dude, man, they're not seeing your face. And I went, I know. It's like, yeah, but they're going to see your face. And I went, you signed a contract that says they own your image in perpetuity. Do you know what
Right.
that means? And the guy I was talking to, you could tell he was thinking about it. And I said, that's
Yeah.
right. Forever and ever and ever plus a day, they own your image. So I'm okay with them owning my back and my backside. And, I think about the conversation you and I had not too long ago where there's a new show being mounted and they wanted you to be a part of it. And
Oh,
it just didn't feel right from the very beginning. It just did not feel right. It didn't, something about it wasn't tracking. And you
Yeah,
finally went and spoke to the creative team and you said, look, this isn't working for me. I cannot be a part of this. I can't give what I want to give to it. And they
right.
respected that decision.
Yeah. Well, it was already obvious beforehand that and I told them, well, and they said also so to me, we realized that you're kind of on your way out already a little bit, kind of, and so there's not a lot of time before you go on your pension.
Well, clarify though to
Yeah,
for some people, you're working every single day at 100% until the day you leave a company or a production or a tour. But in this case, if I understood you correctly, it was a big show. It was a lot of lines, and things were constantly being changed, which made it really difficult to learn the lines. At Shakespeare, the thing that I really love about Shakespeare, and I've done full unabridged productions, but I've also done what's called cuts, where they literally take the show, they cut the script, and they'll reduce it to an hour, hour and a half. But the
right.
thing that I love about Shakespeare is the words. They have not changed in centuries. The problem,
No,
the problem when you're working with someone who's writing a script is they may decide to go in a different direction midway through the show. And what do? You're like, okay, now I have to toss everything I just learned out the window and learn all this new crap.
yeah.
And you
Well,
you you recognize that and you spoke up about it.
it was the thing. I couldn't come up with the drive to do it. And so that makes my brain shut off. And that's a really strange phenomenon because I just wasn't able to remember anything. That's because you don't have your mind set on it.
And well, it also was because the script wasn't connecting with you. You know,
No,
um,
I thought it
very
was good.
early, very early in my career, I worked on a project and I was cast as a principal. And probably the day after the table reading, and for those who don't know, a table reading is where everybody's got the script and they're at a table and they're all reading their lines. That's it. It literally is a read through. But the day after the table reading, we were in the rehearsal space. And the notes that I was getting from the director, who had also written the script, was, okay, so just so Dustin wouldn't have said it that way. He would have said it this way. I was like, okay, all right. So I made that adjustment. That entire day and the next day and the next day was me getting what's called line readings, notes on how to say the lines, because the role I was playing was of an individual who was still alive. And I'm being directed on all these things I needed to do. And I asked the director at one point, well, why didn't you just hire this guy? He's like, well,
Right.
he's not an actor. And I went, well, as an actor, you're not giving me much freedom to interpret the character. It's like, okay, I understand what you're saying. But he kept giving me line readings and I had to leave. I quit the
Yeah.
production within the first week. Only production I'd ever quit in my life. But it was not
Right.
working. I could feel it was not working. I could feel it was not going to work for me. And I had to stop as soon as I could. And he didn't appreciate
Right.
that, naturally. But when I told him, I said, look, you can hire anybody to do this role because you're telling them exactly what to do. You don't need an actor. You don't need someone with training, with background, with the desire to dig into the character, to understand the backstory. All you need is someone who can parrot the lines that you're
Yeah.
saying
Well,
back
you're
to you in the way
absolutely
you want.
right. They should have typecasted somebody else then.
Precisely. And
If they, yeah,
for you,
you did a screen test, right? Or an audition.
no, I did an
Uh,
audition. Yeah.
exactly. So that's the moment when you see somebody interpreting the thing that you want from him.
Yep.
And if it doesn't suit your purpose or your whatever,
Right. Now,
just let them know right away and just
yes.
don't
And
hire the person.
sometimes when
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
worked on a project called The Infiltrator with uh, uh, Bryan Cranston, John Leguizamo, and I just forgot the other guy's name. Anyway, um, I had to send my information in, and I had to give a headshot and a body shot. And then I got a call from the stunt coordinator. And, and it's funny, before I got the call, I said, why am I doing this? And he told me it was for a project he couldn't talk about that was shooting in Miami. And I went, okay, don't you have someone else? And he called me up and he laughed and he goes, you're the only guy in this business I know who's trying to talk me out of hiring him. And I went, I mean, I'm sure you can find someone else to do this. He's like, just send me your stuff. Tony called me the next day, and when I answered the phone, it has said, hello. All I hear is laughing for 15, 20 seconds. And when he finally stops laughing, he says, the director wants you. So I beat out a bunch of other people, and I was still trying to push the job away. And I'm glad that he insisted I submit my stuff because I really had a great time on the set. It was a great group of people to work with. But you know right away, especially in a theatrical production, when you sit down and look at the script and maybe look at some of the other people you're working with, it's okay to say no, no. Now,
Right. It is.
sometimes if you really want the role and you have to work with some other asshats on the production, screw them. Just work because you and I, Tone, both with the length of our careers can talk about the fact that when we first got into entertainment,
Mm.
we were shoulder to shoulder with other entertainers. Everybody you met, everybody you talked to was an entertainer. Everybody's fucking in entertainment.
Everybody. Well,
The more you pursue and persist, which I think is awesome, the more space between you and the next person because people
mm,
give up. People give up, and we did not. But
mm,
I also think part of that is, sometimes when you're working enough, you're in a position where you can say, "Oh, who's on that project? Yeah, I don't really get along with that individual. I'd
right.
rather not have to work with them if I can avoid it."
Uh-huh.
And sometimes that's okay. No, nobody that I've ever been in that position with has said, "Okay, I'll fire the other person." A
Yeah.
couple of times people have talked me into working on the project, but other times they've said, I completely understand. I don't want to work with that person either. The point of all this is you have to stand up for yourself, whether we're talking about an entertainment production, whether we're talking about you being a teacher in a classroom and you're ready to get out of the classroom and you're ready to go into administration because you want to lead at a higher level. A great comparative example is when I was at Disney as an hourly cast member. I got picked to be part of the 40th anniversary Traditions team. Traditions is Disney's
Right.
version of orientation.
Yes.
And when I
Mm.
realized I could reach this many people at this level, how many can I reach when I'm up here as a leader? And that was the thing that compelled me into leadership. And I think,
Yeah.
if you're teaching in a classroom, if you're serving on the front lines of a company, whether it's entertainment or corporate America, if you're looking for opportunities, chase those opportunities. If the opportunities are being withheld, you can find those opportunities elsewhere. You just have to have the patience and you have to have the drive. I think at
Absolutely.
the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
It does. You always have to be true to what you want to do and true to, well, basically, it's all a matter of integrity.
Yep.
When and also towards others. If you don't don't say what you think or do something that you don't want to do, people might get a different view about you or their relationship towards you. It could
Right.
be.
Right.
We all know these instances where you go like, oh fuck, I don't want to talk to this person, but
Nope.
this person gets the impression that you want to talk to them. then it's
Correct.
your fault. It
Correct.
always is your fault because you're not being truthful.
You're
Just
not
one
being you're
example.
not being honest to yourself. You're not being honest to
Right.
them. You know,
Not
clear.
honest with the other one person is as well.
Yeah.
And because and that's particularly harming because you make that person spend his time with you, and basically you're not worth his time or her time. Understand?
Correct.
So
Yes.
it
Yes.
works both ways.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
So you always have to be honest and speak your mind,
Yep.
and just let the person know in any way, shape, or form that yes, I want you to be part of my life or hang out or whatever you want to do at that moment or in your life. You always have to do that.
Clear.
Always have to be
I th
honest.
I think the secret to success anywhere and anything you do is relationship building, and the foundation of that is communication. Always in everything. You
Yeah,
give me any situation, and I will tell you communication is at the heart of your success or failure. Whether you're talking about a company, a project initiative, friendship, business relationship, an interpersonal relationship, a marriage, long-term relationships of any kind, communication is the make or break thing. Without it, you're screwed. Eventually, things will die.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've got to cut this one short. So, I appreciate everyone tuning in, and we're going to continue this topic on the next episode.
Good idea.
Later.
Lots later.